Good evening. So today we're going to try to go over a little bit about bombing runs. This is just going to cover a few of the basics and things to kind of go over for moving targets, stationary, and what the bombs accomplish. Currently, here is the fit that we're using. This one here is pretty well standard for my guys. It's mostly a giant range fit, so we can shoot out to about 112 kilometers or so. Nice, simple, easy. This is using polarized bombers. Bombers really don't have a lot of help in the first place, and for what we're doing, this works out great. So, with the mana core, you're going to have concussion bombs. It is what's bonus to it. Each bomber type has their own, well, let's say they have their own specialty for bombs. However, that doesn't mean you would fly those bombs all the time. Now, if I'm in a giant group and we're all flying mana cores, we're all going to, of course, use our concussion bombs. However, if we have mixed groups of, say, part of us in mana cores, nemesis, and some purifiers or hounds or something, you'll have something called the bomb of the day. And that would be what everyone's going to run for their bombs. The reasoning behind this is once I click this bomb and launch it, it can actually destroy bombs of other types. So you want to make sure everyone's running the same bomb type so you don't prematurely explode your bombs. I know there's a joke in there somewhere probably. So going through with that, make sure whoever your fleet commander is, you're asking them what sort of bombs you're running. For us, we run mana core, so our standard is, of course, the concussion. But if you do run something off, check ahead of time. All right. So going in from there, I got a friend. He's going to be decloaking and going to kind of orbit the Saw Hub for us. Now, while they're orbiting this, what we need to pay attention to, what I like doing, is going to be Shift C. When I Shift C, it's going to allow me to snap to an object when I click on it. So I can click on, say, the ship or something and go right at it. When you launch your bombs, the bombs are going to go in a straight line from your ship. So currently, I can be looking at Teddy over here, and if I launch my bomb, it's going to go where my ship is pointed. So just make sure that whatever you're going to be launching towards, you are approaching that object. Your other thing to pay attention to on your bombs, I'm going to go to show info. So rate of fire, course 10, it takes a while. Don't worry about that so much. 1 meter a second minimum, not going to worry on that one. What I'm looking for, okay, concussion bombs, attributes. 2,500 meters a second. So it is possible for frigates and smaller ships to outrun your bombs. You'll see down here the damage type is, of course, kinetic. Area of effect by 15-kilometer radius. That is going to be the point where it explodes. It's going to go in 15 kilometers in every direction from there, which is actually going to give you a 30-kilometer bubble, essentially. So just keep that in mind. Wherever it blows up at, 15 kilometers out from that, so a giant sphere of a 30-kilometer diameter. They do have signature radiuses, and that is because if someone is running things like smart bombs and other stuff, they can actually kill your bombs before they come in, which is another one where you have defender missiles and smart bombs that can actually destroy these. Explosion radius, kind of similar to the rest of your missiles and stuff. It has a radius where they explode at, it explodes out, moves through, so that's just like damage application. So these work better along big targets versus smaller targets. Alright, so what I need to go for is it's going to be 30 kilometers away. So anytime I go through, this bomb is going to travel for exactly 30 kilometers and then it is going to blow up. The only way it would blow up sooner is if it's physically shot at, does something to lose its damage, or if it ends up actually hitting something. So going through, Teddy is currently 35 away. I launch this thing out to 30, I can still hit him. So the ideal is to try to get within about, if he's moving away from me, then I want to move roughly 25 kilometers. If he's moving towards me, I want to launch this around 35 kilometers. However, for purposes, just look at 30. 30 is the golden spot that you want to try to shoot someone on. Now, with that being 30, we are sitting here cloaked. You're going to notice Teddy is slowly passing. There is an object behind him. When you launch your bomb, you want to get off grid because people will try to lock you up, scram you, and kill you very quickly, especially with bombers being so close. So it is a good idea to have save points or something behind them that you can warp to. So with this one, I'm going to use the customs office in the planet here. All I'm going to do, I'm within range, I decloak, make sure I'm approaching him. I'm going to launch the bomb. I'm going to warp.
Drive active.
Now you'll notice there, going through, it didn't give me any damage notification. However, I'd still hit Teddy. I can confirm that one on the other screen. Yep, so we hit him for roughly a little over 1,000 damage. It's a smaller target. They weren't using a micro warp drive, nothing like that. So it still does land. So as you've seen, I was able to launch the bomb and then warp off. I wait a couple seconds because if I completely leave grid, sometimes the bombs do not activate if you are no longer on grid or you're gone. We're going to come back to the Sov Hub.
Drive active.
Cloak up. As soon as I get far enough away here at least. And I will cloak up. Now, one of the tricks when you're doing this is to ensure that you have save points around. You wouldn't want to physically jump to known structures and things like that, just because it's very easy for people to follow you. You don't jump to 0, and I'd also caution against jumping to 100, because if people follow you, those are the two they're going to jump to either try to decloak you, catch you, something like that. The best course of action is to make save points. If you know where a battle's going to be in your system, you take all these celestials, including the anomalies, and you warp, warp 100 off of what our object's going to be under attack. I'll go ahead and do an example here. So I'm going to head to the planet. I'm going to warp to 70. I'm cloaked up. And I know that I'm going to be fighting, say, at the Sov Hub, doing some defenses, things along those lines. My shortcut is Control B. That's mine. You guys may have separate shortcuts, but that is the default one in the game. The moment I bring this up, it does not take effect until I hit submit. So I don't want to fill up all of my stuff, so I'm just going to save this for 2 days. And I'm just going to, save point 1. Now, I'm going to come to the Sov Hub. I'm going to warp to 100 of the Sov Hub.
Drive active.
This is also going to be good if you are not bombers and you're trying to find where bombers may be coming from at different angles. The more anomalies, like in this one, there's a bunch of anomalies. The more there are in a system, the more different save points and things you can get that people may be warping to. Now I'm going to wait until I'm just off grid here. 5,000, 2,000. Okay, I'm hitting submit. The moment I hit submit is when that thing saves. Now if you look, I can turn pretty much right around and I have my save point 1. Alright, so the idea would be wherever the group is, this would be in a group of, say, 15, 20 people, or, it could be in 100 people depending on what sort of stuff you're fighting and what you're doing. So when you're going around, you want to look for stuff that you can warp to, preferably save points, from the direction that you're going. The other thing that you need to be careful of is if you have interdictor bubbles, any sort of bubble up, hick bubbles, things along those lines. If that's running, those have about a 30-kilometer radius. I cannot warp through those bubbles. That is another reason why you want these different save points going along. So if I'm trying to hit up to Teddy currently, he's 171 away, so I'm going to look for a point off in his direction. I don't see much, but, alright, I have a customs office over here. I'm going to try to bounce there and then bounce back again. This is another point of why you want saves in different directions. A lot of people like using this little tactical overlay map. I don't care for it so much. I do like, zoomed in, seeing my ship, watching stuff explode. That's kind of my style.
Drive active.
Alright, So once we land again, we're going to try to launch one more bomb and try to warp off. When you have larger fleets, things you have to look out for would be drones. So I'm using a drone tab. I'm looking for any drones around in the area. If there's any drones that are coming close to me, they could decloak me. If you get decloaked, you need to be ready to warp off. Alright, as you've seen, I was able to bounce to a Celestial, come back at roughly his range. Now, they're coming in to me. So, I'm going to burn down while cloaked, just to get away a little bit. And this is where patience is going to come into play. If they're burning towards you, and they're well within 30 kilometers and things, you don't want to be decloaking. They're going to try to point you, they're already coming at you, you're going to be within point range. You got to be patient. Burn in another direction while cloaked. It's going to go nice and slow. Wait for them to pass you, get your 30 kilometers away to where the speeds are roughly the same. Then go towards them and launch your bomb. If you get in a hurry when you're using bombers, you will get yourself killed. The other one is if you have a fleet with you. If you have a fleet with you and you warp in, you have to be ready for someone to be decloaked in your fleet. If they decloak and you are near them, you can decloak your entire fleet. You may hear things like starburst or spread, and with those you're going to burn in a direction, turn your afterburners on, anything you got, and immediately cloak up and try to warp off. If you're going to a save point somewhere and that happens, and you just spread out and you try to cloak up as soon as possible to keep them from using scanners and getting in on top of you. Okay, so this one here sees 26 slowly moving away. So first thing I'm going to do, come in, I'm going to approach him. He is moving at a faster speed. I'm going to click a little bit in front of him to let the bomb catch him. Decloak, launch bomb, and I'm going to get ready to warp. I'm going to warp off.
Drive active.
Now I didn't have one to warp to. You're going to see how long I'm on grid. If they have an interceptor, anything along those lines, they can easily kill me very fast. It takes a while to be able to warp. So pay attention to what you have, what's behind you, and areas that you can go. Get your bombs off and try to get off of grid as soon as possible. That's all I got. Hopefully that helps explain a little bit. Have a good day.